What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Rageki Built. Today I've got something special and a little risky to share with you. Most of you know my first Triumph was Tanya, a 2017 T100. She was a great introduction and the bike that really started this whole channel. I'll have a card up for that full journey at the end of this video if you want to see where we began. She was a great bike, but if you've ever ridden one, you know the lack of a sixth gear and the mild power leaves you wanting more. I found her a great new home and went hunting for two things: more torque and a highway gear. That led me to this, Bob the Bobber. A 2019 Bonneville Bobber. I picked it up as a non-runner with questionable storage technique between the electrical red flags and the actual mileage locked behind a dead dash. This is the ultimate test for a gold level diagnostic. Let's get it on the lift and see if I bought a masterpiece or a paperweight. All right, guys, let's get into it. I picked this bike up at 8:30 at night. By the time I got it back here, it was already pushing 9 p.m. I was dying to know if I'd hit the jackpot or bought an anchor. The owner thought a module was bad. Usually, that's a code for a failed instrument assembly. I hooked up a temporary power supply, turned the key, and nothing. Pure darkness. To be honest, I panicked. These assemblies are around $1,000. But look, I'm not a fortune teller, I'm a technician. Experience tells me to start simple. I reached into the fuse box on the left-hand side and pulled the very first fuse I saw. And there it was, burnt out. I popped in a replacement and said a prayer, and the dash glowed to life. 1,941 miles. At 9:30 p.m., I went home with a massive win. The next morning, it was time for the lifeblood, the engine oil and filter. On a bike that's been sitting in humidity, you don't take chances. As I'm looking at this bike, it's a textbook example of what not to do. This thing is the poster child for my video on the 10 things that are ruining your Triumph. I'll have a card for that at the end of the video so you can watch it later. While the oil drained, I yanked the battery. It was completely flat. I hooked up the Optimate 4 Quad Program Gold Series. Initially, it flagged it at 75% health after a day of charging, but I let it sweat for 2 more days, and the Optimate pulled it back to a full 100%. I've put a link for this exact charger in the description. It is an affiliate link that helps support the channel. If you have a bike that sits, this thing will literally pay for itself the first time it saves you from buying a $150 battery. It is a gold level tool for a reason. On day 3, I tackled the nightmare, the fuel tank. When I opened it, the smell of varnished fuel was overwhelming. This stuff had turned into a horrendous acidic slurry. I stripped the tank and found a massive amount of rust and scale inside. I filled it with concentrated vinegar and water solution and let it soak overnight. But the next morning, it wasn't a miracle cure. I spent the next several hours in a cycle of rinsing, degreasing, and literally vacuuming out the crud until the inside was finally acceptable. While the tank dried, I replaced the fouled spark plugs. Guys, as you can see on the right side spark plug tower, there's a good amount of rust there. The reason for that is actually quite simple. Because the bike leans on the kickstand, the right side spark plug tower can hold water, especially if the drain is clogged, which it was in this very situation. Blowing the drain out with compressed air is the easiest way to dislodge blockages. If you're ever buying a used Bonneville, this is one of the things I look for. And swapped out the fuel rail and injectors with some spare OEM parts I had in the shop. Sometimes being a hoarder finally pays off. Usually, when a fuel system is this far gone, I tell a customer it's a total replacement. But for this project, I'm taking a different approach. Using meticulous cleaning and a box of miscellaneous parts, I fashioned together a working fuel pump assembly. Usually when putting together an assembly like this, I'd have every part brand new and laid out. But the mission with Bob is to save money. Though saving money is always second to reliability. In my shop, safety is the #1 priority. Digging parts out of a spare box is usually a last resort, but sometimes it's necessary. Waste not, want not. Starting with the fuel pump plate, I fitted a fresh seal, followed by a used but tested pressure regulator. I'm lubing every O-ring here to prevent any nicks during installation and to ensure a headache-free seal. I'm using a new sub-harness, but since I couldn't find a new fuel line, I took extra time to thoroughly flush and clean the original. Luckily, the pump hadn't primed that tank slurry through the line yet. For the bracket, I sanded away every trace of corrosion, degreased it, and blew it dry before mounting. After fitting the hoses to the filter and pump, being careful not to get grease inside the lines, it was time to seal the deal. I crimped the hose clamps, and for the first time, this tank is a complete unit again. But using old parts has drawbacks. I actually had to pull the tank off multiple times due to a fuel pressure issue. As you can see, the first pump I actually prepped had a hairline fracture at the outlet. While the bike fired up the very first time, the pressure dropped immediately. After sourcing a second used pump, I tested the pressure before closing it up. It held steady. We're officially in business. Everything is clean, the pressure is perfect, and the battery is at 100%. Masterpiece or paperweight? Let's see if he breathes. There it is! He's alive! He's idling a little rough as those injectors settle in, but the bottom end sounds tight. Bob the Bobber is officially back from the dead. In the next video, we do the final touches, a full gold level service, and finally hit the road. All right, guys, that's quitting time for me. If you found this helpful, like, share, and subscribe to Raigeki Built. Don't forget to check out those cards on the screen to see the T100 journey or the 10 things you're doing to ruin your Triumph. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a Triumph Tech tip. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.